if I'm in space and I hear some fucking music and that shit not coming from me, I'm like, nigga, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, oh my God, spray this bat baby around, nigga, spray this motherfucker around, nigga. It's like, nah.
No sit it back, can't waste no time. You stack pennies, I can't drop a dime. Why they tryna play them, nigga, rewind. Coach of the team, I'ma get them in line. Give a fuck about the rollie, I got all the time. Is you with me or not, I'ma do it for mine. Fuck.
What's good, y'all, man? We back with another video. We got the infographics show, man. I used to watch the fuck out this shit, bro. I'm not gonna lie. During like COVID, that shit was like peak, bro, for me. I mean, that's still peaking now, bro, cause like they got information and shit, so it's like that shit never really go old. But look, we got NASA hid this Apollo 10 mystery for 40 years. If you don't know what Apollo 10 is, it was the second spaceship to orbit the moon. I always like watching shit like this, bro, getting like a little information here and there. I don't know, like I always been open and receptive to information, bro, no matter what it is. Like I always want to learn some new shit, bro. And like when you like that, bro, like you just absorb like a lot of shit. And you go out there and find that motherfucker. You can find that shit, and whatever's there, you absorb that shit. You feel me? But let's get into the reaction, though, man.
One cramped spacecraft, 240,000 miles of empty space between them and Earth. You would expect silence, but the universe had other plans. In May 1969, as Apollo 10 orbited the far side of the moon, cut off from the Earth, something eerie pierced the static. A high-pitched whistling filled their headsets, not for seconds, but nearly an hour. Interference, a harmless glitch, or a signal not meant for human ears. On today's episode of the Infographics Show, we follow the evidence to uncover the truth. Grab your spacesuits and buckle in. And don't forget to subscribe. We've all heard of Apollo 11, but before Neil Armstrong ever took that famous first step on the moon, another crew flew right to the edge of history. This is the story of Apollo 10, a mission that went everywhere Apollo 11 did, except for the landing. It's May 1969, just 2 months before the world would gather around TVs for mankind's greatest leap, and NASA is launching what it calls the final dress rehearsal for the big show. Apollo 10 was critical. If anything went off the rails, the moon landing might be delayed, or worse, scrapped altogether. The mission's objective was to test everything except the touchdown. That meant getting into lunar orbit, separating the lunar module, descending toward the moon, and then executing a precise rendezvous and a docking maneuver in orbit, all without actually landing. That crew was made up of 3 veterans of the U.S. space program. John Young stayed behind in the command module, nicknamed Charlie Brown. Meanwhile, Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan piloted the lunar module, affectionately named Snoopy. Apollo 10 would take the lunar module lower than any spacecraft had ever gone before, just 9 miles above the lunar surface, or around 47,500 feet. That is barely higher than a commercial airliner flying above the Earth. In fact, Stafford and Cernan could all but see the landing zones that Neil Armstrong would later descend to in July. It must have been agonizing. After all those years of training, NASA knew the crew might be tempted by the prospect of a lunar touch and go. Predictably, they intentionally didn't load enough fuel into Snoopy to make a powered descent and return, just in case anyone got a wild idea about becoming the first man on the moon. Still, this mission was anything but routine. One critical maneuver involved separating the lunar module from the command module, orbiting the moon separately, and then reuniting in lunar orbit. A delicate, high-stakes ballet. If anything failed during that rendezvous, Stafford and Cernan could be stranded forever, doomed to orbit the moon until their oxygen ran out. But Apollo 10 pulled it off. Every system check, every maneuver, every trajectory correction worked as planned. It gave NASA the confidence it needed to greenlight the historic Apollo 11 landing. What made Apollo 10 truly unique was...
Imagine being able
That
to
shit wild, bro. It's like,
for any reason, in any style.
you look at a situation
at
like
any
this,
scale.
right? You look at a situation like this where
wasn't
it was like information that niggas didn't tell nobody. This is like, nigga, there's multiple situations like that. There's shit about 9/11 that we don't know. You feel me? Like, there's shit in Area 51 that we don't know about. Like, shit that they just can't tell us, cause I feel like they got some shit in Area 51, bro. It's like, if they were to tell us some shit, tell us this shit, like, niggas would freak the fuck out. There's some more shit. Some niggas don't believe that, but I personally think that, I think they got some shit in Area 51. I think they got shit like, the military got some shit, bro, they're not telling niggas about, bro. Cause it's like, why would you tell everybody your plans? You feel me? What do you think about that? Cause if you told everybody you had this or that, it's gonna always be that one nigga or that group of people that might try to take advantage and use that motherfucker. That's why you don't tell niggas shit, because they don't have the power to abuse that motherfucker or something, you feel me? So what do you think about that?
How close it got. It was the tension, the knowledge that they were this close to the surface, flying over it in low orbit, peering out the window at the landscape that no one had ever walked on. Yet. But unlike the dark side of the moon from the sci-fi movies, the far side of the moon does get sunlight, but it's called far for a reason. It's always turned away from the Earth. And that means for about 45 minutes on each orbit, any spacecraft back there is completely alone. No radio, no telemetry, no mission control, just the vacuous silence of space and whatever beeping machinery you happen to bring with you. On May 22nd, 1969, 4 days into the Apollo 10 mission, Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan were floating in the lunar module as it skimmed low over the moon's cratered backside. They were in the middle of their descent rehearsal, running routine system checks, navigating by the numbers. Meanwhile, John Young, orbiting in Charlie Brown, was monitoring their progress, tucked away on the other side of the moon's silent curvature. And then it started. A sound, faint at first, and then unmistakable, a strange high-pitched whistling. Like musical radio interference or eerie space static. It filled their headsets, sounds unlike anything that they'd heard before. The radio was off. They were in the blackout zone. No signals from Earth, just two astronauts drifting above a lifeless lunar plane, listening to something that shouldn't be there. Cernan and Stafford didn't panic, but you can hear the uncertainty in the mission transcripts. Was it interference, a glitch, something worse? They double-checked systems, they ran diagnostics. Everything read normal. Cernan remarked, "Boy, that sure is weird music," prompting a quick reply from John Young back in the command module. "We're gonna have to find out about that. Nobody will believe us." Cernan described it as a kind of whistling, like an outer space type thing. To the modern ear, that might sound almost amusing. Two astronauts casually discussing strange cosmic music while flying a lunar lander. But beneath their composed banter, there was something else. A pause, a flicker of unease, and perhaps just a trace of fear. Because the question hung unspoken. Do we tell NASA about this? After all, Cernan had said, "Nobody will believe us." It was a loaded observation. At the time, there was a quiet...
I'm sorry, I gotta go back, bro. Hold on.
...strange cosmic music while flying a lunar lander. But beneath their composed banter, there was something else. A pause, a flicker of unease, and perhaps just a trace of fear. Because the question hung unspoken. Do we tell NASA about this? After all, Cernan had said, "Nobody will believe us." It was a loaded observation. At the time, there was a quiet stigma around reporting anything that even resembled unexplained phenomena. Some pilots worried that it would jeopardize future flight assignments. After all, if you came back from space saying that you heard strange music on the moon, would they think that you would crack under pressure? The Apollo program was built on discipline, logic, and engineering precision. There wasn't much room for weirdness. So instead, Stafford and Cernan debated the noise in real time, checking their equipment, confirming they both heard it, and wondering aloud what could be causing it. They examined the VHF, or the radio system. They noted the isolation of their orbit, and mentally ticked through the possibilities. But no solid explanation came during the flight, and notably, they didn't report it to mission control once communications resumed. Cernan would later recall that the sound kinda surprised us, but neither he nor Stafford thought it was dangerous. Still, they agreed not to make a big deal about it. Better to bring it up during the post-mission debriefs than risk being seen as unreliable in flight. The whistling continued for almost the entire duration of their farside pass.
Nigga, that shit gonna fuck me up, bro. I ain't gonna lie. If I'm on the moon or if I'm in space and I hear some fucking music and that shit not coming from me, I'm like, nigga, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, I gotta spray this bat baby around, nigga. Spray this motherfucker around, nigga. It's like, nah. But you wanna hook, like, this is a top mission, bro. Like, niggas ain't, it's like your second time, like, being on the moon, I think. Second time being on the moon, like, nigga, it ain't no fucking turning around, bro. We gotta get this motherfucking moon, man. Fuck.
And just as mysteriously as it began, it stopped. After the Apollo 10 astronauts returned to Earth in May 1969, their mission was hailed as a flawless rehearsal of the moon landing. NASA engineers combed through the flight logs, analyzed telemetry data, and they checked every system. Publicly, everything looked routine. But in the vaults of NASA, there was one detail that didn't make it into the headlines. That strange, unexplained whistling sound heard on the far side of the moon. NASA chose to classify it. In the middle of the Cold War, the space program was about more than science. It was a geopolitical weapon, a symbol of American dominance over the Soviet Union. Every anomaly, glitch, or unexplained occurrence was filtered through the lens of national security. Could the sound have been a Soviet signal?
Hey, what's up, guys? I found this beer left over from some campers, and I'm totally wasted.
Have you guys seen this vlogging Yeti online? I'm gonna teach you how to do this exact thing in under 5.
Yo, bro, speaking of AI, I'm so glad YouTube taking down like the AI shits, bro. That shit would have blew the fuck out of me, man. And YouTube was worldwide, bro. Cause nigga AI is just too perfect, bro. It's like, nigga, that shit would have took niggas' jobs. Like, what the fuck? And nigga, I love doing this shit, man. So I'd be damned if a robot take my shit. Like, what the fuck? They already taking niggas' jobs at the McDonald's and shit. Like, not McDonald's, but like some like restaurants and shit, fast food. Like they got the joint like where you can order with AI. And some places it's wild as fuck. Like we don't have that down here. I haven't seen that, but it's just getting crazy. I think it's good to have it to like edit your shit, but not like make it like the main joint. But like that's a whole nother conversation, man.
Worse conspiracy, the decision was made for better or for worse to tuck the Apollo 10 onboard recordings away. They were marked as confidential, sealed and stored deep within NASA's archives. And the astronauts, they were professionals. When asked about their mission in later interviews, Stafford and Cernan gave vague, measured responses, if they mentioned the sound at all. NASA's unspoken culture in the Apollo era was don't speculate, don't improvise, stick to the script. That's how you earned another flight. This wasn't unusual. For Cernan, it even paid off. 3 years later, he became the last man to leave his footprints on the lunar surface. Throughout the Apollo program, astronauts had occasionally reported oddities, brief flashes of light, sudden equipment failures, strange noises. Most were later chalked up to technical explanations. Others, well, they just faded into silence. Apollo 8's famous Santa Claus transmission, for example, still sparks debate, fueling speculation that the crew may have seen something unexplained. Apollo 12 got a jolt of cosmic drama when lightning struck the rocket just seconds after liftoff, momentarily plunging the crew into darkness. And then there's Apollo 16, where a strange blip caught on camera sent UFO theories into orbit, adding yet another eerie chapter to the moon mission legacy. For nearly 4 decades, the strange space music heard on Apollo 10 remained buried in NASA's vaults. Few knew about it, fewer still knew what the astronauts actually said. Then, in 2008, that silence broke. NASA quietly released thousands of pages of Apollo mission audio transcripts, including the previously classified onboard recordings from Apollo 10's orbit around the moon. At first, it didn't cause much of a stir. Most of the documents went straight to the public archive, unnoticed by all but a coterie of the most dedicated space history nerds. But then someone started reading. Once the quote surfaced, the media pounced. In 2016, the Science Channel aired a documentary called NASA's Unexplained Files, spotlighting the long-lost Apollo 10 recording as a central mystery. The episode edited the transcript with spooky music, atmospheric reenactments, and a voiceover that asked the big question: did astronauts hear alien signals on the far side of the moon? Cue internet explosion. Clips from the show were uploaded to YouTube. Reddit threads sprang to life. Social media ran wild. Theories ranged from malfunctioning equipment to Soviet jamming signals to extraterrestrial broadcasts. Some were...
Bro, how I feel about aliens, bro, it's just like, if I see one, I see one. It's like, I be seeing the, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I used to look this shit up as a kid all the time. I used to always look up like UFO sightings and shit like that, mythological creatures, nigga. And I was doing that shit all on my grandma's government phone, my nigga. On her government phone, I'm over here searching shit up that I should really, at this age, I shouldn't even be searching shit up, like, but I was always curious though. I always wanted to figure shit out. Nigga, that's why I'm on this video right now, because I'm curious shit. I'm still curious. So, like, then I used to look up, like, UFO sightings and shit like that, Bigfoot sightings. I always was curious about shit like that, because I just wanted to know. Like, when you just have a strong, like, just wanting to know, it can lead you in some dangerous situations. Also some good situations, like learning and shit, you feel me? And that's just how it be, bro. That's just how it be. It's like, be at times.
Joking, others were dead serious. And then suddenly, Apollo 10, once known as the dress rehearsal mission...
I'm your fuck around and find out type of nigga, man. You feel me?
...associated with the paranormal. More than anything, people were fascinated by the idea that something weird happened behind the moon, and that the astronauts had kept it quiet for 40 years.
Waiting for docs to write themselves? Here's the secret to getting words down without losing momentum.
Declassification reignited a sense of wonder that had long faded from public memory. Because, well, let's face it, when astronauts say, that music even sounds outer spacey, it's hard not to wonder, what else don't we know? So what was this strange whistling space music heard by Apollo 10 on the far side of the moon? According to NASA, the answer is far more mundane. Radio interference. Specifically, feedback between the VHF, or Very High Frequency Radio systems, used by the command module, and the lunar module. During Apollo missions, both spacecraft, the command module, Charlie Brown, and the lunar module, Snoopy, were equipped with VHF transceivers for short-range communication between the two vehicles. These radios operated in the 30 to 300 megahertz range, allowing the astronauts to talk to one another when separated in lunar orbit. Now, when the two radios were transmitting and receiving simultaneously in close proximity, and especially in a vacuum where signal reflection behaves differently, they can create a loop of feedback. Think of it like holding a walkie-talkie too close to the speakerphone. What you get is a high-pitched, undulating whistle. To the untrained ear, that might sound like music. That's exactly what happened on May 22nd, 1969. Stafford and Cernan floated behind the moon in the lunar module, out of contact with Earth. Their VHF radios were still active, communicating with Young in the command module. The positions of the spacecraft, the closed radio loop, and the moon's lack of atmospheric interference created the perfect conditions for radio crosstalk to mimic an eerie musical tone. NASA communications engineers have explained this in detail. The whistling, they told later Apollo missions, was known as an artifact of VHF signal interaction when both modules were powered up in close range. It was no more supernatural than the feedback you get in a conference call. Similar VHF anomalies were noted during other Apollo missions, especially when both vehicles were operating on omnidirectional antennas in tight formations. But in most of those cases, the sound was just ignored or never even captured on tape. Another important point, this wasn't actually a sound. There's no air in space, so what the astronauts were hearing wasn't sound traveling through the vacuum. It was electromagnetic signals processed through their headset audio systems. The interference was converted into an audible signal through the spacecraft's comm systems, much like how static in a car radio gets translated into those familiar crackles and whines. So, why did it take nearly 40 years to clarify this? Well, space technology is complex. Those systems were cutting edge in the 60s, and engineers were often solving problems on the fly. Documentation was dense, compartmentalized, and sometimes ambiguous. And honestly, no one thought that a weird radio whistle heard during a blackout was worth publishing. Until it was. A strange transcript, a modern documentary, and an internet that loves mystery turned a mundane tech quirk into the moon's greatest unsolved riddle. But in the end, Occam's razor prevails. The simplest explanation, grounded in science, is usually the right one. Apollo 10 didn't leave footprints on the moon, but it left something just as important, a trace of wonder. That music wasn't proof of aliens, but it showed how little separates curiosity from mystery, science from awe. As we prepare to go back, that might be the most important reminder of all, because space isn't empty, it is filled with questions, risks, and meaning. But mysterious sounds weren't the only thing.
So, bro, hold on.
On NASA's Apollo program, watch Apollo 13 Space Mission Disaster out.
Oh yeah, we watching that next for sure. So nigga, so what niggas is trying to tell me is that niggas thought they heard something, but it was just their headphones malfunctioning. That's what you're trying to tell me. To dumb it down. Niggas, well not malfunctioning, but just the headphones connecting to like the radio signals and like whatever the fuck that was, the space pods and shit, bro. What the fuck, bro? So nigga, that's some bullshit. And it took y'all niggas 40 years, bro. 40 years? Get it together, bro. It's like, nah, I ain't gonna lie, that's wild. But that's crazy though, bro. And you know, think about it, for that 40 years straight, niggas is over here stressing talking about something. It could have been aliens. It could have been aliens, bro. It had to be aliens. Like, niggas do that shit all the time. Cause they be motherfuckers out here be talking about, like, it could be aliens. And some motherfuckers really think that it's aliens. Like, their mind sounding like, bro, it had to be aliens. What else would it be? Take shit. It just be different, bro. But now we definitely gotta react to that space disaster. I think it said Apollo 13. I never seen that joint. We gotta check that joint out. Shout out to Infographics Show, man. Y'all niggas be dropping bangers on that joint. And look, y'all like, comment, subscribe. Keep on fucking with the kid, man. I'm gonna keep on dropping the bangers for y'all, man.
My thoughts and then I'm thinking, can you call? And I ain't trying to stall.